What happens after the call? We see the flashing lights, the yellow tape, the grim-faced detectives on TV. But what about the person who arrives when the chaos subsides? The one who steps into the silence to piece together the final moments of a life. This is the story of a crime scene technician, a journey into the world that exists after the call. If you're fascinated by the untold stories behind the headlines, stick around and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into incredible lives. It all starts with a pager's jarring beep in the dead of night. For Sarah Jensen, that sound was the start of another day at the office that could be a pristine suburban home, a desolate alley, or a quiet park now marked by tragedy. Her first call wasn't what she expected. A quiet residential street, a sense of unease hanging in the air. Stepping across that threshold for the first time, she felt the weight of the responsibility. This wasn't a puzzle in a textbook. This was someone's home, someone's life, suddenly and violently interrupted. Growing up, Sarah wasn't obsessed with true crime. She was drawn to science, to order, to finding answers in complex systems. She loved biology, the intricate dance of cells and systems that create life. It was a college forensics class that changed everything. The professor, a retired detective, spoke not just of evidence, but of speaking for the victim. That phrase resonated deep within her. The idea that science could give a voice to those who could no longer speak for themselves became her calling. It wasn't about the thrill, it was about the profound duty to uncover the truth. The path wasn't easy. The training was intense. A relentless immersion into the darkest aspects of human behavior. She learned to photograph scenes with meticulous precision, to dust for fingerprints until her hands were permanently stained, to handle biological evidence with a respect that bordered on reverence. Her instructors drilled into them the importance of emotional detachment. "You are a scientist," they would say. "Your feelings have no place at a crime scene." Detachment becomes difficult when the scene involves a child's bedroom, toys still scattered on the floor. Her first few years were a blur of adrenaline and exhaustion. She learned to compartmentalize, to build walls around the horrors she witnessed daily. She became an expert at reading the silent language of a scene. A coffee cup left on a table, a toppled chair, a faint shoe print in the dust each, was a word in a story she had to translate. She remembers a particularly challenging case, a home invasion that left an elderly couple devastated. The scene was chaotic, ransacked. At Sarah's patient I found it. A single, partial fingerprint on the shard of a broken vase. Weeks later, that print led to a match. The suspect was apprehended, and a measure of justice was served. It was a quiet victory, one that wouldn't make the news, but for Sarah, it was everything. It was proof that her work mattered, that in the face of immense loss, she could provide a small piece of closure. But the job takes a toll. The constant exposure to trauma began to chip away at her carefully constructed walls. The trauma began surfacing in ordinary moments. A child's laughter in a park would trigger a memory of a scene she'd rather forget. The smell of bleach would transport her back to a sterile, cold room. She found herself becoming distant from friends and family, unable to share the burden she carried. How could she complain about a bad day at work when her bad day involved things most people only see in nightmares? The detachment she was taught to master was bleeding into her personal life, creating an isolating silence. The breaking point came after a particularly brutal case involving a young woman. The scene was gut-wrenching, and for weeks afterward, Sarah couldn't shake the victim's face from her mind. Sleep offered no escape, only nightmares. The coping mechanisms she relied on stopped working, and the flood of accumulated trauma was overwhelming. She knew she couldn't continue this way. For the first time, she reached out to the department's peer support program. A decision that felt like an admission of failure, but was, in reality, an act of profound strength. Talking to someone who understood, who had walked in her shoes, was transformative. She learned that she wasn't weak, she was human. She learned coping mechanisms, the importance of mindfulness, and the necessity of finding beauty and joy outside of her work. Hiking became a structured way for her to manage stress. The methodical pace of putting one foot in front of the other on a trail became a form of therapy, a way to process the chaos of her job. She rediscovered her love for biology, not in the context of death, but in the vibrant life of the forests she explored. It was a slow, difficult process of healing, of learning to carry the weight without letting it crush her. Sarah didn't quit. Instead, she returned to her work with a new perspective. She was still the meticulous, dedicated scientist, but now she was also an advocate for mental health among her peers. She started speaking to new recruits, not just about the technical aspects of the job, but about the emotional and psychological toll it takes. She shared her own story of struggle and recovery, breaking the stigma of silence that so often pervades law enforcement and first responder communities. She told them, "It's okay not to be okay. Your strength isn't in your ability to feel nothing, it's in your courage to face everything, including your own pain, and ask for help." Her legacy is unjust in the cases she helped solve, or the criminals she helped bring to justice. It's in the lives she touched within her own community. It's in the young technicians she mentored, teaching them not only how to process a scene, but how to process their own experiences. She redefined what it meant to be strong in her profession. True strength, she discovered, was not the absence of vulnerability, but the courage to embrace it. Today, Sarah is a supervisor. She still goes to scenes, but she also guides the next generation. She looks at the fresh-faced, eager recruits and sees a reflection of her younger self. She ensures they have the resources she didn't, fostering an environment where mental wellness is as prioritized as forensic skill. Her story is a powerful reminder that the heroes of our world are not invincible. They are ordinary people who choose to do extraordinary, often terrifying work. They bleed, they hurt, and they heal. Sarah's journey after the call is not just about solving crimes. It's about the resilience of the human spirit. Her story shows that recovery is possible, even in one of the most difficult professions. It's about finding purpose and providing answers, peace and bringing closure, and strength in admitting vulnerability. Her life is a quiet, powerful story of service, sacrifice, and survival. What part of Sarah's story resonated with you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear what inspires you. Thank you for watching, and if you're moved by stories of unsung heroes, be sure to subscribe and join us for our next documentary.